Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. Do you know that the Captain Drone channel has been around since the year 2016? However, I've been around in the drone hobby since the year 2013. I started out with the DJI Phantom 1, then the Phantom 2, then the Phantom 3, the Phantom 4, and the Phantom 4 Pro, and then everything changed to the Mavic world, and that's where we are today. But back then I was into every type of drone, from every type of manufacturer, and I kept many of them. Other ones, I tossed away because they were crap, but some I kept because I really did like them. So I thought, why don't I revisit some of these old drones every now and then in a video? And, they're legacy drones, and I'll just call it revisiting something. So this one here is the DJI Spark. This came out in the year 2017 in the month of May. I do recall very clearly ordering this one, and I was very excited about it. This is the box my little Spark came in. I'll hold it up so my little secondary camera can film it over there. Yeah, it came in this box. I even have the bill inside. Now, the DJI Spark was launched shortly after the DJI Mavic Pro. So the Mavic Pro took the world by storm, and back then it cost $899, $999 eventually, and it was pretty exciting. That's when they got into the world of Mavics. Mavics never existed before that. So DJI tried to make a mini Mavic, and this is it, and they called it the Spark. So this is my case for the Spark that I've had forever. Back then, this is what the case looked like. DJI didn't make it, but manufacturers made a hard case for the Spark, and this is one of them, and this is the one I have and still have to this day. Now, as I open this, I can tell you the following. I have not flown the Spark in maybe 2 years, 3 years. I don't even know if it works, but we're going to review it today. So let me open this up and show you what's inside so my secondary camera can get it over there. You can see I have the Spark. Looks like I have 3 batteries. I do have the remote, which was an add-on feature when it first came out, and I do have the battery charger and some filters. First up, let's take a quick look at the remote. So back then, the remote had the little handles that popped out, and you would fit your phone in between these little handles down here. The antennas popped up, and you had basic buttons on it. Nothing exciting, no display, anything like that. Back in 2017, this remote was considered state of the art. And it was pretty much a watered down version of the DJI Mavic Pro remote, which had a nice display in it. This one had no display, so it was considered budget low cost. The cool thing about the Spark is you didn't need to use a remote. You could just use your phone. Or you could just use gestures. You could just power it up and it would fly out of your hand, and you could just move your hands around and it would take photos and video without this and even without your phone. All right, so let's take out the Spark itself. I don't have a battery on it, so it looks kind of funny, but we'll take a look at it this way. So at that time, the Spark came in, I think, 4 colors. I've got the metal green one. It had brushless motors. It's got quick removable or quick release props on it. That's high tech for those days. On the very front here, we have a gimbal guard. I'll pull that off. We have our little 2-axis gimbal, not 3 back in those days. That would have been quite a lot of technology to put a 3-axis gimbal on something so small. So it was 2-axis with electronic image stabilization, and it worked very well. See this little thing up here, this little reddish colored thing? It might look black in the video, but that is actually obstacle avoidance. The Spark had obstacle avoidance. Yes, it could fly, it could track you, and if it saw an object, it would stop. It would not go around it. It didn't have the intelligence for that. But back then in 2017, that was state of the art. And looking at the bottom, one thing that they don't put on drones anymore, but they did on the Spark, is all these beautiful bright indicator lights that are around the little motors at the bottom. You'll see it when I power it on. As well, you have some sensors down here. You have optical flow, the normal landing stuff. It has to detect its height when it's flying. And this big gap back here is where you put the battery. And then on the rear, you flip up the little hatch and you can put your micro SD card in there. As well, you could plug in a USB cable. So here we go. I've got the 3 batteries that I had. I guess I never used it with more than 3 batteries. And I will say, it looks like some of them are dead because they haven't been charged in so long. These batteries, like all DJI Smart batteries, they go into hibernation mode. Sometimes you can't bring them back to life no matter what you do. I might be stuck with that. Hopefully I get one that works at least so I can fly this. But the batteries were pretty simple. No ports on the batteries whatsoever, but they did have this little gold square pattern here, and that was for charging. You could buy this charging base that you put the drone in. All right, so here I'm going to hold it this way, and we're going to check the batteries together to see what I have for power. See if they're all dead. Let's see. Top one. Oh, I got a light, so that can be charged. Second one, I don't think I have any. That's pretty dead. What about the third one? Oh, I got a light. So I might get 2 batteries out of 3. I've got one that's got just 1 light of power. I'll see if it has enough power to power this on, just so you can see what the lights look like. It's a normal DJI double press, and there is a fan in this. You can hear it up here. The fan is going. That's back in the days when they used to put fans in their drones, which is pretty cool. They only put fans in the bigger drones nowadays. The little drones don't have fans in them because of the weight. Look at that. That thing you could spot at night from quite a distance. They don't really put the bright lights on the drones anymore. That was pretty good back then. And you might be able to see it in the camera here, but the gimbal's working. It's ready to fly right now. Matter of fact, it was designed that I could just power it on. I could turn this way, you power it on, and then you have it sit in the palm of your hand and face you. And then after it's powered on, could you see me? You would double tap the power button in the back. It would detect your face, emit a beep or something. I'm trying to do this from memory. And then it would just launch out of your hands, go up in the air and face you and wait for you to give it a command. Now, if you wanted to change the settings or see the video and control everything as we do today with drones, you would attach your phone to the remote. Or you could fly it without a remote and just have your phone connected to the drone. That's how cool it was back then. And you would use the DJI Go 4 app, which pretty much doesn't exist today, but I still have it on my phone. So I should be able to get it working, this connected to this. Now these two connect, even with the remote, wherever I put the remote, I've lost it. Even with the remote, it all connects via Wi-Fi. It's not OcuSync or anything like that. So the range is not the greatest. You'll get about a range, if I look at my screen here, max range was 2 kilometers, which is just over a mile. I can honestly tell you, I never ever achieved a mile of range with this little guy. Now, for all of you who do not remember the Spark or never heard of the Spark, let me tell you some of the specs, and it's going to blow you away because nowadays, what do we have? We have the Mini Pro, Mini 2, the Mini 3. So this was pretty advanced for the year 2017. Let me tell you the specs. So when it came to flying this in the wind, you could fly it in a maximum of 18 miles per hour wind. I have no idea what wind level that is. It's probably nothing exciting, but you would have to put it in sport mode. Speaking of sport mode, you could get this to go 31 miles per hour in sport mode, which back then was pretty fast, which is about 50 kilometers an hour. Flight time on this with a fully charged battery, if you were lucky, was 16 minutes. Most of us only got 14 minutes, but it was rated at 16 minutes back then. This little camera up front was actually a 1/2.3 CMOS sensor. It's almost a 4K camera in this little thing, but it didn't shoot 4K. It only shot at 1080p. The reason it didn't shoot 4K is because it only had a 2-axis gimbal up front, so they used the rest of the sensor for electronic image stabilization. At the time they sold this, the selling feature was the gesture controls, but most people who bought this never really used the gesture controls. They were just gimmicky by DJI, but that's what they promoted, and that's why a lot of people bought the Spark. Really, the greatest thing on the Spark back then was there was a tap to fly off. As well, it had quick shots. We take quick shots for granted today in the DJI world or any other drones. But back then, this little baby had quick shots. I think it had like 4 of them, which was pretty decent back then. It also could do pano shots in horizontal, shooting this way, a series of photos, as well as vertical shots up and down. Pretty decent for its time. Now, I mentioned when you bought this, you didn't get a remote with it, so you had the option to buy the remote later. And the remote was not expensive back then. But I remember I used to fly mine. See, I've got Velcro on here. And I couldn't figure out why I had this Velcro on the little arms at the back here. And that's because I was using this unit back in those days. This is the DJI, if I can open it up, there we go, DJI Crystal Sky. I'll bring it over here there. It is a self-contained display unit that was very popular in 2017. There you go, you catch that on my camera. So that's how I used to fly this baby, using the Crystal Sky unit with the remote, and it was quite good. A really good image that would come on the Crystal Sky, you know, bigger display than phones back in those days in 2017. Very bright, you know, 1,000 nits back in those days, which was unheard of. So there you go, that's how I would fly it. Now the experiment, let's see if everything charges up. So back in the day when you bought the Spark, you actually got a charging brick, and it was pretty cool because it had 2 outputs for USB on it, and you actually had an output for your charging tray. This is if you got the Fly More package. So this goes into the side like that. I'm going to stick this here so you can watch it. And let's take our 3 batteries and put them on. They should charge up one after another. Let's see if any lights come to life. Ah, okay. 1 light there, so that's good. Any on that one? No, I've lost it. Oh, there's a battery down here. Now there was 1 battery that was dead. I think it was this one because it's not lighting up. Let me try this one over here. Let's see, is that going to come to life? Come on, come on, come on, anything? So let me pull this one out. Oh, I see it. It came to life. And this one here is doing nothing. Plug this in the remote over here. Get that in the right way. It should come to life. Do I see that charging? Yes, I do up here. All right. So it looks like the batteries will charge, at least 2 of them, hopefully 3. And then the remote. And Then I could take this little baby for a flight, so come on back and we'll fly it later. All right, I'm back and I was able to get 2 batteries charged. The third battery, well, it hadn't been charged for so long that it's in hibernation mode and it won't come out of hibernation mode. That's very common with DJI Smart batteries. But the only way to take such a battery out of hibernation mode is you have to hook it up to an RC hobby charger. I have 1 million of those for the RC hobby, so I'll do that at some point. So my plan is take this for a flight indoors just to make sure everything works, and also to familiarize myself with the DJI Go 4 app. I haven't used it in a few years, so I don't remember what it looks like at all. And then we'll go outside and fly it. So the first things first, let's power on our remote. Double tap. Comes to life, makes a little sound. Second thing, power on our little drone here. I'll put it over, I have a camera over here so you can see it. Double tap on that. It should come to life. I'm gonna have to take off, not from the center of my table here, but over on this side, because right above me is a lamp. And if I fly up in the center, you're gonna see glass falling down as it smashes the lamp to pieces. So I'm gonna take my phone and put it inside these little handles at the bottom. And then you just start up the DJI Go 4 app. All right, so tap on DJI Go 4. It should start up. And what does it say? It says skip all this and Spark. It knows I want to use the Spark because it's the last drone I used. And it says disconnect it. So this app is not connected to this Spark. You know why? Because it's old school. I have to go connect my phone to the Wi-Fi of the Spark, then start up the app. So let's go do that. Oh, look at all these Wi-Fi things happening here. One of these has got to be Spark. There it is down, Spark RC. Did I get it? All right, this time it knows I'm in the Spark app, and yes, it started up everything, so everything's good. Okay, joystick's out. Whoa, that's bouncing around a lot. Let's go up. It's quite stable for indoors. I have to talk really loud because it's extremely noisy. This is not a quiet drone. I've got it on video record. Let's see if I can change it to, let's see if I can make it do a function here. So I'm gonna turn off record. I'm gonna change it to photo mode. Take a photo. Here's what a photo looks like, 12 megapixel. Now in photo mode, you see I can take a single shot, multiple shot, time shot, shallow focus. So we're gonna do a vertical pano, and that should make the aircraft look up and look down. So try that one. So vertical pano, here we go. I'm gonna stay very still. Then the gimbal goes down, goes up, and it goes forward, and it takes 3 pictures and puts them together. Successful. Come on down for a landing, real fast. There we go. Holy crap, is that a loud drone? Holy crap, I forgot how loud that is. That, I've got a ringing in my ear. That is loud. Next up, we're gonna take the Spark for a flight indoors. Okay, I'm using my Crystal Sky display, so I'm gonna put the record on. There we go, and power it up. There we are, and we're gonna take off. Now, I do have the obstacle avoidance on, so I have to turn that off. Go up here, obstacle avoidance, and turn it off. There we go. Okay, now we can fly indoors. Bring it down a bit, and fly forward. You can really boogie with this thing pretty fast. Come around the corner is nice. Going through the house. Angle around that. Come around this way. I'm sideways there. There we go. Straight. And bring it over on this table and plop it down. There we are. And that was our flight around the house. Pretty fast, pretty quick. So the Spark's down there. Let's take it on up. Let's go. Noisy, but not as bad outdoors. All right, let's buzz it around here. And come back. It's pretty darn cold out here, so I'm just taking it nice and slow, low to the ground. The camera's on. Hopefully it's recording. And coming right at me. It's got obstacle avoided. Stop. There we go. Thank you for stopping. Okay, so I go over to the left of my screen. Agree, intelligent flight mode. So, oh my God, I think I'm a first time user with this thing. So here, let's try a quick shot. Do droney. Go.
3, 2, 1.
There we go. That's just going to go back, up, and then it should come back to me. As long as it stays connected. There we are. It's pretty good. Okay, we'll try tracking quickly. Try a box around me. Go. Hopefully this works. If I walk, is it going to track me? Oh, it's ice on the road here. All right, she's up there. So the tracking function works. I'm just going to bring it down a little bit so it's a little lower. And then I'm going to turn around and try not to get hit by a car and come over this way. Ooh. So I will tell you on my screen what's happening is it's having difficulty in tracking me and doing stuff. It says there's interference from Bluetooth devices and stuff like that. So, you know, I've got Bluetooth devices, my watch, I've got other things on me Bluetooth. So, it's still tracking me though. I don't know if it's recording or anything, but yeah, it's there, so tracking works. All right, it's getting kind of cold out here. Let's bring this over to me. So you can see on the screen if my record's working. We have normal mode, quick shots, active track which we're in, tap to fly, tripod mode, gesture mode. All right, so apparently I'm having difficulties with the Spark in the communication with my phone, the remote, and the Spark. I don't know if it's from old age or what. It just keeps complaining about Bluetooth and everything. We are in a, you know, in a neighborhood where there's a lot of Wi-Fi interference, so I don't know. So I'm just going to power it on again. And I'm not going to use the remote or anything. I'm just going to try to do gesture modes and fly it without any remote, any phone, anything. So let's try that. All right, so this could be hit or miss. So the way it works with gesture mode is you just power this on, put you on. It's going to start up. Then I take it, I hold it in my, I'll put it in my left hand, hold it like this. Let's try this. We're going to double tap the power button. Tap, tap. Anything happen? Oh, forward lights are going green. When they go red, oh, it's starting up. And I'm going to let go of it. And it should have me. I'm over here. Has it got me? It should be looking for me. Okay, it should have found me. So now it should be ready for gesture mode. So all I do to make sure it's working is hold up my hand. And now if I move my hand like to the left, it should go left. If I move my hand down, it should come down. There we go. And if I move my hand over to the right, are you even looking at me, drone? Come to the right. It's bouncing around in the wind, but there I can bring it to the right. So now it's all working. Now, if I wanted to track me and follow me, I should just go wave like this. I'm waving. The front lights are flashing, but I don't know if it's doing anything. Here, come on over in front of the camera here. I gotta bring it over in front of the camera again. All right, coming back this way. Come on. Come over here. See, this is why the gesture mode was a gimmicky thing. Oh, this is ridiculous. No wonder you went extinct. So what was supposed to happen, let me explain it, is that if it had me, all I had to do is this, wave my arms, and it would go away, and it would start tracking me. Let's just do one arm. Maybe it doesn't like my yellow hand. There was another thing you could do where you put both arms up, and then it would do something. Is that going to do anything? I put both arms up. Does that mean like give up? I give up. If anybody's out here watching this, they're like, why is that guy waving at a drone? Two hands? Nothing. And then what it would do is it would fly up and it would go with the tracking mode and I could wander around. But right now, I don't even know if it's tracking. Nah, it's not tracking. It's just sitting there. Let's see if the landing works. The landing is pretty simple. Landing is just put your hand out, she lands. So there we go. And one of the other great things with the Spark is you can just use the controller and the drone. You don't even need a phone. It works fine. So if I pull the joysticks out, she'll go up. I can fly it here just like a toy drone almost. Buzz it around, do all the stuff I want to do. And I can even start and stop the camera. It works the same way. All right, change of plans. My cell phone didn't work for some reason. It was always getting interference, so it kept disconnecting from the Spark, which is down there someplace. So I've attached my Crystal Sky. I'm about to power it on. This is very bright for outdoors. So this should work because it is sort of designed for everything DJI. So it should have no problem connecting from here to the remote and giving me a video feedback. So we'll use this. Only problem is I can't record the screen, so I'll only be able to talk about what's going on and not actually show you what's going on. And there we go. Yeah, it doesn't look very bright when I look in this monitor here to see what this looks like, but to my eyes right now, it's very bright. So let's go fly.
Take off.
Here we go. I'm going to take it away up so it's not so noisy in my neighborhood. Okay, I'm about 30 meters high and I can barely hear it now, so we're good. Whoa, is that a bird just flying over? There's another bird. I guess the sound of the Spark is scaring the heck out of it and bring it back. There's birds everywhere. They're buzzing this thing. I can see the birds. There's two of them. And they zoom around and they're going to go up to where my drone is up there. There they're going up, 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 up. They're not going to bring the camera down. They just keep circling. So there must be a nest or something. There we are. And we can look on the top of the roof. Try not to crash because I don't feel like going up there to get it. There. Then look down at the roof. Well, I'm melting snow on the top, so I'm losing a lot of heat that way. I'm gonna have to get that insulation checked. Okay, let's bring it back. Go on down. Alright, there's our little Sparky here. And let's bring it down for a landing. Put my hand out. Come on down. There we go. Ooh, it's cold out here. I'm going in. So what did you think about the DJI Spark from the year 2017? Well, let me tell you, I learned a few things. Well, actually, I remembered a few things about the Spark that I had forgotten. First off, the fan in this thing is really noisy, so I'm going to turn it off right now. No more blinky lights and no more sound. So what do I think? Well, in 2017, I will say this was a drone that was jam-packed with features. Some of the features in this drone, it took an awful long time before we received the same features in drones of today. So what do I mean by that? I mean, look at that drone, and remember when this came out? The Mavic Mini. So that was DJI's first foray into making a Spark 2. I call this the Spark 2 because they wanted to make a Spark 2, but they made this due to the regulations coming out in different countries concerning 250 grams and below. But the Mavic Mini didn't have half the features this had. It had next to no features. It had quick shots. That's about it. But it didn't have all the other features. We had to wait until the Mini 3 Pro before we got obstacle avoidance and a lot of the features that were in this baby. Certainly it only had a 1080p camera, 2-axis gimbal with electronic image stabilization. It did have 12 megapixel photos, but I will say the 1080p video that you get off this Spark for the different lighting conditions that you fly in, it is much better than many of the budget drones you can buy today that are 4K. This beat them. And I have to mention that back in 2017, DJI was becoming a force to be reckoned with in the drone world, and their app, you know, the interface DJI Go 4, that was turning out to be something amazing, and they applied it to this drone. You can still buy budget drones today, but even some of the budget drones today don't even have an app as good as the app that was back in the day of the 2017 Spark. And of course, you could fly this without a phone, without a remote, or you could fly it with just the phone and the drone, or just the remote and the drone, or you could fly with the remote, the phone, and the drone. So why did it fail? Why did it fail? Well, obviously it's noisy, but I don't think that's really why it failed. The arms are not foldable, so it wasn't super compact, although I do find it to be quite small. I think it was small enough, but a lot of people complained it wasn't foldable because at that time, DJI, months earlier had come out with the DJI Mavic Pro, and that was the first drone with foldable arms from DJI, and then everybody wanted a foldable drone, and this was not. It also had a really wimpy flight time, like 14 minutes. You're supposed to get 16, but everybody pretty much got 14 minutes. It had pretty crappy range. If you only used your cell phone, you got 100 meters if you were lucky. If you used the remote, you were supposed to get at least over a kilometer, maybe a mile. Most people barely got even a mile or even a kilometer. It was not very good because it was Wi-Fi and there was so much interference, just like you saw when I was outside of my house flying with my phone. I was getting interference. It kept complaining about Bluetooth. I'd never seen that before. I don't know what's up with that. But anyways, that's what was happening. Also, those gesture controls were gimmicky. DJI took a lot of crap because they made those gesture controls and hardly anybody used them because they never worked correctly. Sometimes you'd get it to work, but it took a few times to get it to work. So gesture controls sort of went the way of the dodo bird. They included them with drones afterwards, but after a while there was no more gesture controls, so you don't really see them today. And of course the weight was a factor because as 2017 progressed into 2018, a lot of countries around the world started to get a little bit tougher on their UAV regulations, rules. In other words, if anything's flying in the air that's unmanned and it weighs 250 grams or higher, then you're going to have to take a test, or it has to be registered or something along those lines. So this was over that, and a lot of people thought, well, you know, I really don't want this. So then DJI made this thing that I just dropped right here, the Mavic Mini. So with all that said, I had a fun time revisiting it. I totally forgot all about this drone because I hadn't flown it in 2 years. I forgot about what it could do and the features and everything. But once again, it's 6 years old and it's not bad. It's comparable to a lot of drones of today. If you take away the range and the flight time, you know, the camera's decent. Everything is pretty decent on it, and things that work actually work quite well. So with all that said, I hope you enjoyed this glance back to 2017 at the Spark and a DJI drone. And if you like this type of video, then I have other drones that are pretty old that I can pull out, dust them off, and do a video on them to look back at them. So for now, I say if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I will catch you in a future video with many more cool product reviews. Until then, I say